I'm Josh with Skid Pro. Today we're going to do our quick start guide on our tree shear. We have two models of tree shear. Both are 12-inch diameter. One is manual rotation from horizontal to vertical, and the other is hydraulic. Of course, with the hydraulic, we utilize either machine-specific controls that plug right in or a universal toggle control. It's simple. All you have to do, the initial hydraulic control will run your blade, and then when it comes time to run the rotation, you'll hit your live override, and then you'll run your hydraulic toggle again, and this time instead of the jaws opening and shutting, it'll raise or lower. As for the manual, it's a little bit trickier. It's a very heavy tree shear. The head is very heavy. In order to do this, the safest, most convenient way, we want to actually raise up the tree shear, tilt it down so all the weight of the head is facing essentially straight down. Make sure we lock our pins in on our QT plate, and we make sure we lock in our loader arms with the safety lift lock mechanism that each manufacturer has. Then we safely get out and rotate the head with no weight on it. It's much easier. It's a simple one-man job at that point. We'll show you how to do that here. Now that we have the tree shear in the position with all the weight off its head, again, we made sure the pin was locked on the tree shear, the loader arm safety is down, so it's safe to get out of the cab. Now we first, before we rotate, have to remove a locking pin. Both the hydraulic and the manual have the locking pin. It's probably not necessary for the hydraulic, but for the manual rotation, it's necessary to lock it in either vertical or the horizontal position. So we remove that first, and then we're able to rotate. Now you can simply grab the outside cylinder guard or the handle and rotate. Now we want to put the J hook towards the back of the shear. And then that's locked in. Put your cotter key in. You're set to go. Now you can get back in the cab and do your vertical cutting. To get it back from the horizontal position, simply do this in reverse. Goes away from you towards the cylinder. Now that we've talked about how to safely rotate the head, the only other thing we need to discuss before we enter the field is hose routing. We try and route the hoses as safely as we can, but obviously at some point there is exposed hosing. We want to make sure to avoid the pinch points on the loader, and we want to make sure to avoid having too much hose hanging out that could catch trees if you're in some real thick timber. Maintenance on the tree shear is quick and easy. There's 4 grease pivot points that should be greased daily, the jaw, the 2 on the cylinder, and then on the rotation. As far as debris inside the single jaws, we do want to try and check that regularly and keep that clear. Normally the blade keeps pushing material out, but oftentimes it's good to just check on that as well. We talked briefly, this is a 12-inch hardwood rated cutting capacity. Now some of that does depend on the gallons per minute, but more specifically the PSI of your machine. Higher PSI, you have a little more power. But one of the things that's really important to talk about is that the shear can cut more. We've had customers tell us it'll cut 16-inch and beyond. It's physically capable of doing that. But part of the reason we rate it at 12 inches is beyond 12 inches, too much weight associated with the trees, and that's why we leave it at that type of size. Now, if you're felling some stumps or things that aren't quite as tall, like a full tree, they're not heavy, you're not concerned with that, one of the tactics to cut bigger material is to do kind of snip cuts, where you'll start from the outside and you'll start snipping your way in and creating a little space, and then you can push and wedge in and make that final cut. But again, safety is always the #1 concern. we want to make sure you're safe. That's why we rated it a 12-inch hardwood. We're just going to go to this one we already had sawed off to show. Your visibility, you can see, is pretty good. As I raise it up, it gets harder. The nice thing is that down low, it's really good. But I'll just show a couple. So we get it squared away to the tree. You drive in. I like to give full throttle to get the pressure up. And then boom. There you can see, it's that simple. Okay, well, let's come in on this. Get it securely in the jaws. Hit your hydraulics. That's it. There's a little straggler there. We'll drive forward. We'll let that pass-through design work. Boom. He's done. That's simple. Nice size ash. We'll open that blade up. Get nice and low. Boom, goes to the right, flush with the ground. So here we're got a lot of debris, so we'll just point that, tilt that forward, kind of work our way in. Here we go, down a little down pressure, and then run the hydraulics. That's it. Here's another one. Again, this is about as simple as we get. I'm going to give a couple cuts on it so you can see here. But you just like to go fit it in the jaws, open them all the way up, get it as deep as you can. Boom. Clean cut, just like that. And that's how you would fell logs too for firewood splitting. We do have some guys that do that. Jaws open all the way. There we go. Pretty simple. It's always good to get that top hook back there as tight as she goes. You can see as we're getting further down, that box elder's kind of getting a little squirrely. Okay, here we got a good little smattering of some trees. Notice it's off to the right with that splitter wedge. Again, we want to nestle it right into the ground as close as possible. Run that cutting edge. There she goes. Nice and flush. There, get her down, cut, falls nicely to the right. There we go, nicely to the right. Pick this one up, move him a little. There we go. Now I can get my last tree here. There we go. It's a good number of trees in short order. So now we're just going to go get our grapple and clean them up. So that wraps up the quick start guide on our tree shear. If you have any questions, feel free to call a product guru, and as always, better products, better service, happier customers.